A pleasant conversation turns dark. Welcome to Storytorium, where the madness is contagious and the stories flow so sweet. Won't you grab a seat and join us? You're in for quite a treat! A little backstory. I was 16 at the time, and I rode the public bus to and from school. This particular day, I had done some special effects makeup before the end of my classes, so I had fake blood running down my face. I couldn't be bothered to take it off before leaving school. Now, I knew as I was boarding my bus, people would stare or ask questions, so I wasn't surprised when this man, who looked to be in his mid-30s, started asking about the makeup. The conversation was normal at first, just the usual, "Oh wow, did you do that yourself?" kind of stuff. I answered the questions as I normally would, and expected the conversation to be done and over with. Boy, was I wrong. This man, he mentioned his name was Joe, started steering the conversation into strange territory, asking me if I had a boyfriend, to which I lied and said I did. He then proceeded to ask if my boyfriend liked the makeup, and if I was on my way to see him now. I again lied and said he likes the makeup, and yes, I was going to see him, trying to get Joe to believe that someone was expecting me. The conversation died down for a bit until he said this.
"You know, you remind me a lot of my sister,"
he said with a grin. I just smiled in response, not really knowing what to say. After not hearing anything from me, Joe continued.
"My sister was kind of a witch. She was always lying to me about our parents. I had fantasies about breaking her jaw."
Now at this point I was terrified. My bus stop was still another 20 minutes away, and I just wanted to be out of that situation. Seeing that what he said made me uncomfortable, he switched the subject, telling me about where he worked and what he does there. I just nodded along to what he was saying, remaining silent the entire time. Closer to my bus stop, he says to me,
"Why don't you come over to my house? I have a freezer full of pizza and ice cream. Maybe we can hang out for a while."
To which I politely declined, saying my boyfriend was expecting me. Finally, I get to the bus stop and quickly get off the bus, speed walking all the way home, all the while calling my friend to inform them of what had happened. Things were fine for a bit after that. I switched my bus route so I wouldn't run into him again, but one afternoon I had to go to a store that was on my old bus route. I was nervous about getting on that bus again, but I was happy when I didn't see Joe. I did my shopping, and as I was leaving the store, I saw Joe, standing out by the door, staring at me. The second I was out of the door, he walked over to me, a grin on his face, and wrapped his arms around me. I pulled away from him, telling him I was very busy and had to go. He then asked,
"Well, what are you doing? I have time. I could tag along."
I was very persistent, saying I really couldn't, I had to go, and I walked away, heading into a neighboring store that I knew would be busy. Sure enough, Joe followed. I ignored him as I made my way down a heavily populated makeup aisle, keeping my attention on some cheap lipsticks in the hopes he would get the hint and leave me alone. I was wrong. Joe reached over my shoulder, grabbing a red lipstick, as he leaned in close and whispered,
"This color would look gorgeous on you. I can't wait to see you wearing it."
Then he placed the lipstick in my basket and walked away, leaving the store. I remained in the store for about 20 minutes after he left, afraid to leave and make the walk home. After I mustered up the courage, I put the lipstick back, put away the basket, and called a friend to stay on the line with me until I made it home. Now, I don't know if he followed me home or not, but I can say that after that day, the motion detector porch light started coming on at night, and I started hearing knocks at my bedroom window. Thankfully, I moved shortly after and haven't seen Joe since. So, to the creeper on the bus, let's not meet again. Serial killer at the Wawa. July 2017. 4 teens went missing in New Hope, Pennsylvania. I work the overnight shift at a Wawa in the area, and from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., we get all types. Normal, obnoxious drunks, cops, and the occasional construction worker/gardener in for their morning coffee. So when yet another customer came in covered in dirt, I figured he was just a hard-working man in a blue-collar job. He had been in before, so we made small talk and he went on his way. That was Friday. I didn't see him on Saturday, but then Sunday he was in again. He got food and a drink, and after the normal "Hi, how are you?" he went on his way again. Monday comes, and I'm working like normal when a few cops come in for coffee, and you can tell something's wrong. "We got a lead on those missing teens," they said solemnly. "We're searching the farm down the road." All of our hearts sank. It had been days since they went missing, so we were slowly losing hope, but this confirmed our worst suspicions. The cops were out there all night, stopping in occasionally to update us, whether or not they were actually supposed to. They brought in dogs, and eventually found them, 12 feet down, covered in concrete. It was bad. At the scene, they could only identify 2 of the teens based on their clothing, but there were enough bones to imply that all 4 were down there. Everyone was devastated. Then the cops asked for our security tapes. "Why?" we asked, confused. "We haven't had anyone suspicious." It was then that they revealed that the killer, a guy named Cosmo DiNardo, had in fact been in our store Friday night and again on Sunday. His cousin actually helped him kill, but he wasn't in the store. The dirt-covered man was a murderer. I was floored, and when I left work I looked up a picture of the man they had arrested. It was him. He was covered in dirt because he had just buried the bodies, and I had made small talk and wished him a good day. Narrator's note. There is a part 2 to this one that is attached to this same post, but as I typically do, I encourage you to go read the original post, so I'm not going to include that in the narration. So if you would like to read the part 2 to this, the link is in the description down below. Thank you for joining us today, and we do hope you enjoyed your treatment. We'll see you next time at Storytorium.